Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant, and this is Elite Dangerous. Here I am in the California Nebula, which I've arrived at in my now fully kitted exploration Asp. It took a while to actually afford the modules I'm now using, and I gathered that money through the use of the same trade routes you saw me using in the previous episode. So let's jump back in time a short while and you can take a look at my outfitting. Right, I've got just shy of 7 million credits to spend here. I do have a few modules equipped which I'm going to sell, and they will give me a bit more money. The things I've got to buy for sure are an A-rated FSD, which is going to cost 4.5 million. And I need an advanced discovery scanner. Let's have a look at the jump drive first. Yeah, and here we are, 4.5 million credits. So quite a bit of money, but it does give me an exceptional jump range, which is what I'm after. Yeah, I've got the B rated one fitted at the moment, so I should get around about 1.3 million credits back, or 1.7 million credits back. And I'm going to confirm, yep, that's what I want. Aside from the ships, that is the most expensive item I've ever purchased so far in the game. So I'm going to sell all my cargo racks because I don't need them now. And I'll put the advanced discovery scanner in this slot. That can go in the smallest slots, which will keep my larger module slots free for more important items, as these are only class 1 in size anyway. So that's another bunch of money gone. And of course I'm going to want the detailed surface scanner, which I believe is around about 250,000 credits. Should be here somewhere. There we go. There is a slight discount here in the Founders World. Because I want so many items, I've come here for that. Now I've spent about a quarter of an hour here so far in the outfitting screen, so you'll probably see a slight edit there where I jump forward a little bit to allow you to see the more interesting parts. This is what I've got equipped so far. I'm going completely weaponless as I don't intend to get in any combat. I do have some defensive equipment, and I do have a rather good fuel scoop, a class 6 fuel scoop in fact, which costs 1.7 million, but that will allow me to scoop fuel very, very quickly, I'd assume. Let's get out there then. Time to head out into the depths of the galaxy and explore. For the most part, I'm going to head from nebula to nebula out toward the outer rim of the galaxy. I'll eventually then either make my way around the rim, assuming I can do that due to the fact that the distance between stars toward the outer part of the galaxy is actually very large. The stars are a lot more sparse there, so it may not be possible to jump that distance with the current technology in the game. But we'll give it a shot, and then after that I do want to see the centre of the galaxy. Ultimately I want to try and get across to the other side of the galaxy as well and see what's over that side. So a lot of exploration to do, a lot of places to see. And hopefully I've now got the perfect ship for that. Not all modules are A-rated that I've got fitted. I would have liked that, but the expense was way more credits than I had available. I've upgraded the power plant slightly and the power distributor, and I did upgrade life support and sensors. The main reason for that is because they all increase jump range, and my ship can now jump slightly over 30 light years in a single jump, which is well over twice what I originally had on my first exploration, and about 14 light years more than I had on my previous exploration. So yeah, my first destination was the California Nebula, which is just the other side of the Pleiades Nebula, and I've just parked up here in orbit around a high metal content planet, or metal rich planet. Let's have a quick fly around that and get a closer look at it against the rather beautiful backdrop here. Now the nebula does look somewhat similar to the other areas we've seen, but the construction of it is quite a lot different, and the tone of the colours are a little bit different as well. So it is a very pretty area. It's a nebula that a dev actually recommended me to visit on the Frontier forum, so here I am. Really looking forward to being able to get down to those planets. David Braben has said a number of times that getting down to the planet surface isn't a particularly difficult task for them to do. The difficulty is in generating enough interesting content for us to do down there. But personally, I'd be more than happy just about to fly over the surfaces, over mountains and oceans and canyons and all the rest of it. Now, that there looked like an Earth-like planet. Hopefully it is. I'm really keen to see one of them out here against a nebula backdrop. There really doesn't seem to be very many of them about. So let's head out this way and hope that's what we find. Oh, we're nearly there. Let's hope it is an Earth-like. It did seem to have an Earth-like appearance to it. And no, it's a high metal content planet. But no matter, let's get up a bit closer, as it does have a blue texture to it, and it does have clouds, so it does look like quite a pretty planet. The thing is, as you come out this way further into the depth of space and you get out amongst these various nebulas, all the planets that we've seen previously in the core systems are also here. There's these same types of planets, should I say, and I do like seeing them against the different backdrops. As you spend time exploring, you see all these planets and moons and other elements in various different combinations, and sometimes they can be very, very stunning. Lovely stuff to see. And funny, that's a high metal content planet, but it does have quite an Earth-like appearance to it. I don't think there's any oceans down there. The atmosphere is what's giving it the blue hue. That looks quite nice. Now, I'm going to try something slightly different for this episode, as the guy I'm flying here, Commander Granite, is going to be travelling a lot, and that means the episodes could well get a little bit dull due to the extensive number of jumps. So what I'm going to do is fade to black and introduce you to Commander Obsidian Ant, who is right back in the core starting systems, and he's got himself involved in a little bit of a fight. So the plan here is to show you some content from another character I've been flying in order to keep the episodes interesting. Yep, the exploration itself is some interesting stuff, and there's some fantastic things to see out there, but the travelling across the galaxy does take a lot of time. So during those time periods where Commander Granite is travelling thousands of light years in some cases, we can jump over to here to my other character, where I'll be getting up to some other activities. But don't worry, Commander Granite and the exploration with the Asp is certainly going to be the main focus of these episodes, and we'll be heading back to him very shortly, in just a few minutes. At the moment I'm still in an Eagle here. It's outfitted with some basic guns and a few modular improvements, and as you can see I've got a wanted status, and it seems some of the NPCs are trying to make an attempt on claiming that, but that's the mistake on this guy's behalf that he's not going to be able to escape from. I've been hoping to get interdicted by players, but that really doesn't seem to be happening very much. I'm not too keen on the idea of interdicting players myself just yet, although I may start doing that if they have a high enough bounty and could therefore be deserving of being interdicted. And there we go, that guy's gone, and that's a nice little bounty for me in my pocket. Right, well that's a brief introduction to Commander Obsidian Ant, and we'll be getting back to him more in the future. Let's head back to the other end of the game, where I'm about to experience one of the best jump sequences I've so far seen. Whoa, 3 suns. Now that's a first, especially white ones like that. I've seen binary yellow stars, but never 3 white stars like this. That's fantastic. Love it. I'm going to take a brief fly around some of these, I think. I can't just warp off and leave that. I do have to point out though that the game seems to be having a little difficulty with the shadows and light sources there. There's 3 suns here and I'm only seem to be being lit by the star I actually jumped in at. It's certainly quite a nice feeling though, flying around at nearly 3 times the speed of light and swinging past these multiple suns here. Let's swing back and have another look. See if we can see all 3 at once again. Yep, there we go. Brilliant. I'd love to actually fly in between the 2 here, but I don't dare do that because I think I'd probably get a little bit too close and drop out of warp and then overheat, and that would be something I don't want to happen. Now this game really does keep surprising all the time. You just never know what's gonna be around the next corner. You keep making jump after jump after jump and seeing singular yellow stars and red stars and so on, and then suddenly right out of the blue you get a 3-star system just like that. Brilliant stuff. It's the reason I love exploring so much. So in the end I decided to head toward the Elephant's Trunk Nebula. It's actually a nebula that's heading out away from the galactic core and starting to get toward the Galactic Rim, and it's also rather interesting because it's different colours to all the nebulas I've actually visited so far, with a lot of greens and yellows in it, so it should be quite a nice place to take a look at. Just look at that. I'm getting quite close now. It's probably only another 2 or 3 jumps until we actually get there. The 30 light year jump of this Asp really does make a difference. It used to be in the previous ships I had with the much lower jump range that the nebulas increased in size very, very slowly as you pretty much crawled toward them, but these huge jumps I'm making now seem to increase the apparent size of the nebula dramatically. Well, we're nearly there. This is it. This is the final jump, and then we'll be right inside the Elephant's Trunk Nebula, and this is one of the larger nebulas. It does have more stars inside of it than some of the smaller nebulas, like the Cave Nebula, which I have just bypassed. It was a little way back. I'm actually not too sure how far away from Earth I am at this point. I will need to have another check, but I think it's around 2,000 light years or more now. And let's get a bit of fuel. You don't need too much, and it certainly don't take long with the speed of this fuel scoop, which is actually capable of delivering 505 units a second of fuel. And now we can face away from the sun and head in toward the nebula, and as the glaring brightness of the sun dissipates, we should get a rather interesting view out here. As you navigate toward the nebulas on the galactic map, it is quite important to choose a reasonably decent star that has a good location within the nebula. Otherwise you can find yourselves on the outskirts of the nebula, or actually inside the nebula, but in an area that only has sparse nebula particles, and it can be quite a disappointment to end up in a place like that where you don't actually see any of the nebula you was expecting to see. Let's have a look how many planets are out here. 22 planetary objects, or astronomical objects should I say. And yes, this nebula looks quite different to what I've seen so far, but the greens are not quite as apparent as I was expecting them to be, but nonetheless it's quite a nice looking place. I keep looking at that little constellation of stars there, very curious about it, and it will probably be the next location I head towards. But for now we're here in the Elephant's Trunk Nebula, and I want to get up close to a planet, hopefully one with a ring system, and take a look at it. Well, that planet looks rather dark blue, doesn't it? It's a gas giant, and it has some icy rings around it, and I always feel that they're very, very interesting places to see. They're some of the best graphically rendered areas in the game, I feel. But also another thing is, you never really know exactly what configuration of asteroids you're going to get as you drop in. They can be very shallow in depth, or they can be extremely deep and you can get yourself lost in them, as I've done back in beta. And they can also be quite sparse sometimes, or on occasion you get tightly knit asteroids. I better slow down a bit though, as I don't want to crash into this ring too hard. I've already taken a bit more damage than I'd like on the way out here. I do have a maintenance repair unit, but that's already used up some of its capacity. Now look at that. As I was just saying about the complete different variations you get in asteroid fields here, this one is very, very dense. It's actually the most dense one I've seen so far in release. It should be an interesting experience indeed flying through that, especially with the Asp being a fairly large ship. I won't be going too fast through here. Well, I'll probably go full speed, but I doubt whether I'll be boosting among these asteroids. They look quite closely packed. We'll see just how tightly packed when I get down there, but I don't imagine this would be the sort of place I'd want to do any combat in. Or all the combat would probably take place above the asteroid field. But yeah, look, that really is a tight packed bunch of asteroids, isn't it? Let's get down just a little bit lower. It seems Frontier have made a bunch of performance improvements as well. It wasn't too long ago that areas such as this, the highly dense ring systems, would give a massive performance hit, and that doesn't seem to be happening now. It's smooth as anything here. Just the sort of place I'd love to fly through on the Oculus Rift. You actually have to look quite closely to find a patch that you can navigate through. It's possible to get blinded by the number of rocks that are all bound together here and not actually see a path through. Now, although it is quite a dense ring system, it's fairly shallow. The height of it top to bottom doesn't really go very far. But that's really made it worthwhile coming out here. Something slightly different and something new to see yet again. I've also noticed that there's no longer any NPCs out here. Once I got around about 1,000 light years from Earth, they just totally seemed to disappear, which makes sense. I've moved in closer now to the gas giant to take a closer look at the primary ring system, and this is a rocky area as opposed to an icy one, and it's not quite as dense as we were out there. And there we go, there's that star constellation again. I'm going to jump into the galaxy map and take a look at that now, because that is definitely the next place I want to head towards. I'm pretty sure it's a nebula, and let's see what we got. I reckon that's the place. There's nothing else around, so yeah, let's head over there and have a look. No, it's quite a distance, slightly further than it looks. I suspect there's going to be quite a lot of stars in the middle of this nebula here. They're all lined up neatly in the game world view. Let's see if I can align properly with it, and then we can see. Zoom in. There. Well, that's an interesting configuration, isn't it? All in a straight line indeed. Well, yep, that's definitely the place I'm heading towards next. And that will be happening in the next episode. As always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys and girls next time. This has been Obsidian Ant, signing off.